Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Core blimey, there was a title change on NXT this week. I am Luke Owen. This is Hellfagador Laurie Blake, and welcome to the world. We're trying to record here, man.
Dude,
come on.
I
don't do this.
I know it's not your
reviews.
thing, but give me a chance.
Yeah. I keep noticing these freaking things.
They're
What
yours.
is it? What is Eye Patch Fox?
They're
I don't know
your
what that is.
things.
Dinosaur King. They're not my things.
You put them
They
there,
just
right?
We're a wrestling show. Have a Zack Ryder. Have a Rock.
But they're yours.
Why is Tomb Raider getting married?
I thought they were yours. I thought you were putting them there.
No, I don't know who's putting them there.
Well, just chill out.
There's Finn. That's okay. Let's put Finn back.
Look. No more stupid toys.
Well, technically,
All right,
those
so
are
we'll
also
just
stupid.
get rid of Zack Ryder then.
Action figures
Careful with that. That's a priceless one.
with nice accessories and robes.
I do like that robe.
Okay.
Okay.
God, those toys stand
you okay?
remarkably well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, sorry, man. As I said, I thought you were putting there. I thought you were trying to like
don't know where they're
diversify.
I think the cleaners have been leaving them.
I thought you were trying to diversify our outreach.
All right.
That's why Dr. Robotnik was out there.
Things, yeah.
Just don't make them look nice.
Do we have to do this now while we're recording? This is a live broadcast and not edited whatsoever.
I think it makes.
Don't make them look
better.
weird.
They're just hugging.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Good show, lads. I want a good show.
Thanks, boss. That was weird.
He's a strange guy.
Do you notice these things being around?
I can't see the set. It's just it's one of those things.
Oh, right, yeah,
I've got set blindness.
Yeah, that's why you wear glasses sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes
Helps with
sense.
that,
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yeah, NXT. So, yeah, there was a title change on NXT last night. Although, it was a title change that some people say we might have spoiled in the news.
Oh, no!
So the
Or did we?
Or did we?
We did. Accidentally.
Yes, sort
They
of.
filmed two, so it wasn't a spoiler.
Yeah.
It was a potential... Two things are happening. The same two things that would have been happening if the match was just happening anyway. Not a spoiler.
So, here's what happened. A couple of weeks ago at the tapings, Velveteen Dream won the NXT North American Championship from Johnny Gargano. However, they also taped another ending to the match where Gargano came back down, the match was restarted, and Gargano retained. So it was actually, I'll be honest, a smart way of doing this because they know that word's going to get out. Because as the tapings are happening, these things are getting out.
People are tweeting like, scoop one.
Scoop one, which I'll be
This
honest,
thing happened.
is not a scoop.
No.
Like, that's not how scoops work.
No, scoops is like no one else saw it. But like, crowd of people were there with you.
You're in a room of 500 people
Most
who
people
have all seen
saw
the
it.
same thing. That's not a scoop, mate.
Scoop.
Superstars. So that's what happened on NXT. So we reported that in the news, this, that, and the other. And then they announced that Velveteen Dream won the Worlds Collide tournament over WrestleMania weekend, and he challenged Johnny Gargano. That was 2 weeks ago. Now here we are. Here's the match. And it turns out they went with the ending where Velveteen Dream wins.
And keeps it.
Exactly. And that makes sense. We're not going to go into the spoilers for the next set of tapings, which I don't usually read. But because of what happened on Raw and SmackDown this week, I was so intrigued to see how were they going to fix this.
Yeah.
And it turns out they didn't try.
No, it was like...
They just ignored it.
It was
more
one of
or
those
less.
things where it's like when you Wikipedia a crime film because you don't understand what happened, and then you're like, I just have to have this explained to me in more simple terms. That's why I had to read the spoilers to be like, I just need to understand.
Ollie Davis did this with 13 Reasons Why, that Netflix series.
Yeah.
He watched the first episode, didn't like it, but did want to know what was going to happen. So he went to Wikipedia and just read what happened.
Oh God.
Just fair enough, I guess. So,
Some people don't like surprises.
well, that's it. But then there are
Not
people-
wrestling fans, though. They
they
love surprises.
love surprises, and which I think is a perfectly fine thing. I love surprises too. And this was a very surprising week of wrestling. So we're not going to go into the spoilers here, but aside from one element of the storyline going forward, them being a babyface tag team, Gargano and Ciampa, I mean, is not something we're really moving forward with, at least not in NXT.
No.
So I think from now on, we need to treat this NXT review like WWE treat NXT.
It exists in a separate
It exists in a
space.
completely separate space. We shouldn't be talking about Black on the main roster or Ricochet on the main roster, because I don't think any of that matters to NXT. They are completely... This is Elseworld stuff. This is like, you know, a Batman title alongside a different Batman title that are coming out on the same week.
It definitely depends. Yeah, it's one of those things, though. But obviously, we then had promo packages this episode, though, that were like, well, these guys were on Raw and SmackDown. So it depends, really, coming out of these tapings. Because the thing, obviously, we don't know from the tapings, even having seen spoilers, is how much Maranello goes on about them being on Raw and SmackDown, how much they've shoehorned in to the commentary or to the post-production side of things. If these guys are going to continue to appear on Raw and SmackDown every week, are they going to bring it up every week on NXT?
Yeah, because NXT is like a big pre-taped thing, and Raw and SmackDown are rewritten like an hour before the show airs, it is going to be...
We don't know what we're doing!
It's going to be very much impossible for NXT to predict what's going to be happening on Raw and SmackDown in the lead up to WrestleMania.
I would just leave 10 minutes of blank airtime that you can just fill with packages and just hope that you can cover...
That's it. You just got to paint over the cracks. Because that's exactly what you're going to do. So the story... that's being reported is that Black, Ricochet, Gargano, and Ciampa are going to be across all 3 shows. And we know that from the spoilers because Black and Ricochet were there. I'm not going to say what they were doing, but they were there. So those 4 lads are going to be cross-promotional things. Brand split's not ending, though. They're going to be cross-promotional things. The NXT tag team titles are being defended. Or the WWE women's tag team titles are being defended across all 3 brands. But the brand split's not ending. No. It's still a thing. And that's just what they're telling
Team
Fox.
Raw and SmackDown are just getting smaller, that's all.
And it's going to be more confusing come Survivor Series. Are you Team SmackDown?
What do you go both ways?
Could be. So... they're going to be across all 3 shows. But let's just focus on NXT. And let's talk about what was a corking little main event of this show.
Right.
So it was Johnny Gargano versus Velveteen Dream for the North American Championship. And it went about 20-odd minutes.
It was a long one.
It was a long one, and it was really, really great. You had Gargano really playing up to his kind of like heel persona that he sort of is, this cocky heel thing. And there was a point during this where the crowd had dueling chants, but they were dueling chants that were both for Velveteen Dream. Because they were trying to go Velveteen, Johnny Jackass, Velveteen. So it was kind of both of them. And there were chants of Johnny Jackass through the crowd, and Gargano was really playing up to it. I thought Gargano was awesome in this match. But as good as Gargano was, holy heckins, was Dream great.
Dream is amazing.
He's so good.
He's one of those people, though, where it's like everyone says he's quite green, he's quite new to it. But
he's 22 or whatever.
But he's obviously taken to it very well. And actually, you put him in the ring with somebody like Johnny Gargano, who gets great matches out of everyone. And Dream is the perfect foil to that. He just seems to be able to absorb that energy off whoever he's in the ring with and be like, and now you have great match.
It's incredible, really, because Johnny Gargano is Johnny Takeover. He's the guy that you put onto a Takeover card because you're guaranteed to get like a 4.5-star match out of him, regardless who he's in the ring with. And you couple that with the Velveteen Dream, whose job has been to like make stars in NXT by being losing to them.
Yes.
Like that was his gimmick for a little while. It was like he would have takeover matches where he would put someone over and they would come out looking even better because he put them over, despite the fact that he's also getting over at the same time. It's like he's a lovely, lovely character and a brilliant, brilliant presentation of him. He is one of those NXT stars that they've just done so, so well. And then you couple these two together on an NXT show, even though the match went 20 minutes or, you could say only went 20 minutes and it wasn't like, say, a takeover quality match. This was an excellent TV match.
It was brilliant.
But it was brilliant. It was so, so good. And even as someone who knew what the finish was, I was so invested towards the end. Like popping up out of my seat. I was popping for the near falls.
Yes.
I loved this match.
I think they're just incredibly inventive guys. That whole like final stretch with the Dream Valley Driver teasing and then the Avalanche Dream Valley Driver getting teased and he drops down, he kicks his legs out, he does the rolling flatliner thing. They were putting out all this stuff. You were just like, this is mad that you thought of this. This is crazy. And then that final moment where he rolls him through a couple of times and does the Dream Valley Driver and then hits the Rainmaker. It's unbelievable. Oh my God, what a stretch.
Yeah, it was great. That Avalanche Dream Valley Driver might be my favourite spot of the match because they teased it earlier in the match.
Yes.
But then they sort of didn't deliver on it. And then they went up to do it, like to tease it a second time. In my head, I'm like, okay, cool. So Gargano gets out of this one, and then they'll do it a third time, and that's when you get the big pop of it. Like I'm thinking Keith Lee, Ishii, teasing of the suplex. And when Gargano fights out of it, I'm like him and I was like, okay, Gargano gets out. But then Dream just powers up again and lifts him up and hits it. And I was like, whoa, he hit it. And I popped out of my seat so big for it. I thought, as you say, like the final stretch of this match was absolutely wonderful. Wonderful television.
But I think it was a very well worked 20-minute match in the first place. Anyway, they did brilliantly to just play they played on the idea that Johnny thinks he's the better wrestler than anyone on NXT. So they went very technical to begin with, and Dream kept up. And then Johnny starts to accelerate what he's doing, and that's when Johnny kind of gets into control. And then he actually works him over for quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then when Dream mounts this comeback for the sort of final 10-minute stretch, unbelievable. It was perfect. It was so perfectly paced.
Yes, and one of the other wonders of NXT that I really appreciate about them as a brand, it's that multi-level storytelling as well. Because not only did you have the storytelling that was going on in this match and putting over the fact that Velveteen Dream's now the North American champion and he's going to be going into his own feuds going forward, looking to have a very, very good feud coming out of the TV tapings by the looks of things. But it was also furthering the Gargano-Ciampa storyline.
Yes.
And I'm just going to ignore Raw and SmackDown where they tagged as babyfaces.
They're best friends.
No, it doesn't. They didn't.
They
never did
are
that.
best
That
friends.
makes zero sense.
Just two best friends.
Because they had this backstage segment before the match.
Yes.
Where Gargano said to him, he was like working out backstage, and Candice LeRae walks up and he's like, "Hey, Candice, this is great. I'm ready for my match." And then Ciampa's like in the background, skulking, holding the title. And Gargano is just like, "Look, I won this belt on my own. I don't need you. I've never needed you. I hate you. We're not a team." And this, that, and the other. And he's like, "I've got everything I need right here." So we can have Candice LeRae. And he's like, "I'm going to be Johnny freaking Wrestling." But then throughout the match, you've got Ciampa up like in the rafters, like he's
doing his Sting impression, yeah.
Just watching from the shadows, watching in darkness, clutching at his title.
You couldn't see the zip line he'd built.
Exactly. Watching Johnny Wrestling lose the North American Championship, and it furthers this storyline that Johnny was wrong. He does need Ciampa, or does he need Ciampa? This is what Johnny's going to realize, that he does need Ciampa in order to further his career. Because that's the whole thing, is when DIY split up, Johnny was like, I never needed Ciampa anyway. I'm going to go out as a single star.
Yep.
And all he did was fail.
Yes.
He kept losing all the time. He kept failing at winning the NXT Championship. And who won the NXT Championship on their first try? Tommaso bloody Ciampa. And
Captain Wright.
Exactly. So Gargano was then like, "No, I need to get rid of you. I need to win the NXT Championship and do it for the right thing." And that didn't work either. So then when he went for a different belt, he used Ciampa-style tactics to win. So it's telling the story of, does he need Ciampa?
Yes.
It's just brilliant multi-level storytelling that's been going on for 3-4 years or whatever it is. Like, I think they first started tagging in like 2015, maybe 2016 when they first came into NXT. So this is such like brilliant long-term storytelling that's going to get this big payoff that we assume at the next TakeOver event, which I believe now we can call TakeOver New York.
Yes.
Because despite the fact it's not in New York, it's in the Barclays Center, I suppose, which is in Brooklyn. It's NXT TakeOver New York. So we can now, at least we can give it an official title.
So, I mean, this storytelling like goes further than that, because it's the same. We're seeing reflections of the same aspect of Johnny's character leading to his downfall. Again, in this match, the reason Dream starts to get into Johnny's head and starts to gain control is because Dream slaps Johnny.
Yeah.
And Johnny switches from being Johnny Wrestling to Johnny, I'm quite cross now.
Johnny
and
Badass.
That's when he stops being capable of actually wrestling the match properly. Because actually, in the Ricochet match, he went quite far using Ciampa tactics. But in this match, he was using Johnny tactics from when he was facing Ciampa.
Yeah.
And he went, I'm going to push your stretcher back down the ramp and restart the match. I lost. I'm going to try and knee your face off. No, I've hurt my knee. Yeah. This was that sort of level of stuff where he, Dream slaps him and Johnny switches from this style that was working, which was working over his limbs, doing a lot of technical wrestling, to suddenly like, I'm going to be hyper aggressive. And that gives Dream the in.
And I love the slap as well, because they did the slap at the start and they put this over brilliantly on commentary. That was the slap that instigated the brawl after TakeOver Phoenix.
Yes.
And it's Johnny like losing himself and becoming a hothead. The same character that AJ Styles is. I've been told. Like, commentary, never seen it in the ring. But I just think there was so many wonderful levels to this match. I thought they did a terrific job of this. I'm very happy for the Velveteen Dream as well, getting the North American Championship. He is a character that's sort of like, he did need to win a belt at some point to kind of legitimize him, because he can't just keep going for belts and losing.
No.
So I think he did need to get like a big win under his belt. And I think using the Worlds Collide tournament to get to that point was a really smart way of doing it.
Yes.
And so then he can go into a takeover as a defending champion. I think that's a really... It's good that the Dream got that.
Yeah, because he defied the odds before. He'd been defying the odds of like what normal wrestling parlance is like you watch people lose over and over again, and eventually you go like, oh, they'll never win, I don't care.
Yeah.
And Dream somehow defied that, because every time he came out, you're like, oh, the Dream's here.
Yeah,
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm about to get an experience.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see someone actually like have worked very hard, put a lot of other people over, and now get the chance with someone who actually is, we were saying that Dream is the kingmaker in NXT. Gargano's the slightly whatever's above a kingmaker.
Yeah.
He probably is that guy, because he goes, do you know what? Dave Meltzer's paying attention. Like that's kind of his vibe. So it's nice to see Dream get put over in a match with Johnny.
Yeah.
Because they are both the two sort of masterclass people for matches that make other people look good.
And he won it clean as well.
Yeah,
there was no shenanigans, there was no Ciampa interference, there was no nothing. He won that clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring, which does wonders for Velveteen Dream in terms of being in the ring with Gargano and beating him.
And doesn't hurt Gargano
Absolutely
either.
Not, because it's part of the story.
Yeah, because it plays into something else that's going on.
It's part of his character. Yeah. I think it was great.
He's not just a loser.
No, exactly.
He's a loser.
He lost.
He lost.
I thought this was a really, really great finish to what was a really good episode of NXT.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had a wonderful time with this. Dipped a little bit in the middle, but we'll come on to that. But I thought this was a really, really good episode.
You can
of
see
NXT.
why they went, well, we'll get these NXT guys on Raw and SmackDown. They would,
well, yeah, I mean, because
watching week to week NXT, they were like, oh, we could just have them, and it'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to go into this bit more on the magazine show on Saturday, which Ollie and I will be doing. But yeah, so the story is that Vince McMahon, that is, panicked and decided that Raw, all the main roster stars were stale, and they were never going to be superstars. And so he panicked and just said, bring me your 4 best from NXT. And that's why it's Gargano, Ciampa, Ricochet, and Black.
I'll take 4 of your finest.
Exactly, yeah. I'd imagine you would have thought that Riddle would have been a part of that as well, but Riddle's comments in that interview that he did last week, where he called the main roster childlike, probably did him no favours.
Well, I mean, but also at this point in time, it's probably no favours either to just immediately go up there.
Well, yeah, I was reading... So
he's probably he's just relocated his entire life as well. Like, he probably just I'll probably do a year here at least before I have to move house again.
The story is that there are... the quote was from 2 NXT stars, 2 top NXT stars, who did not want to go to the main roster. And they had said, I'm terrified of going to the main roster because here I've got creative freedom and I can do a lot more. Yeah, I'll get a bigger pay packet, but I want to stay in NXT for as long as possible. But conversely, there are other guys in NXT that are desperate to go to the main roster because they know that they are Vince's kind of wrestlers.
Yes.
And so they're like, I'm not going to get a push here, but if I go to the main roster, I will get a push because I'm a big jacked dude, I guess. So yeah, I mean, we've gone way off topic here. We'll save some of this chatter for the magazine show, but for now, let's get in to the rest of the NXT review. Because, of course, this is a live broadcast and not an edited show. Yeah. Anyway,
Edit.
Yeah, edit. So anyway, we got a hype package for Gargano and Dream for the North American Championship to start off this show. But, excuse me, we kicked off...
What was that?
I've got a bit of a frog in my throat for a second. But we kicked off in style.
I'm going to speak in tongues.
We kick off in style for this show with Aleister Black versus Roderick Strong.
Well...
God, I've still got sort of the lump in my
They've gone up
throat
to the main roster, you see.
Nope. That's out of continuity.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. No.
Not in this NXT not
sorry,
in this NXT world.
I keep forgetting that the universe doesn't exist.
Exactly. This is a different title. This is like, I don't know, I won't go do another comics comparison. But so yeah, this was Aleister Black versus Roderick Strong, and it was kind of weird as well. Not weird, but they've been telling this story over the last couple of weeks that Undisputed Era have not had a great 2019.
No.
And Roddy loses this match as well, and they were putting over on commentary. Bad year for it. Like, the losses. What was Ronaldo's line? Ronaldo's line was, the losses are continuing to mount for the Undisputed Era.
Piling them up.
that's a really cool storyline for them, of this tag team, or this group, this faction that have been so dominant for like the last year or so, winning titles, winning the NXT Tag Team Championships, getting new members, having an injury but still winning all of these awards and accolades and stuff. But now they've lost a load of matches. And what are they going to do to respond to that? I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it works for their characters as well, because I think they've got so used to cheating to win, or like playing the odds in their favor and all this stuff, and that's not even working anymore now. They're failing at run-ins, they're failing at post-match beatdowns, generally speaking. So it's very interesting to see where this goes. Could this eventually sort of end in a very subtle face turn for the team, where they become a bit more of a sort of, much more of a tweener group, and they're just kind of cool with it?
Yeah, totally.
They actually quite like playing by the rules.
Yeah,
because do you know what? Like some of the major successes that they've had have been when they've been playing by the rules. Like they won. Cole defended the North American Championship a couple of times where it's just a very straight match and it was brilliant. And
he won the match without cheating. He won the ladder match.
He won the ladder match without cheating. He's defended the title a few times with no help from any of the rest of the Undisputed Era. Same goes for the tag team.
Yep.
When whatever combination of Fish and O'Reilly, or O'Reilly and Strong, they won plenty of matches with just good psychology, a little bit shifty moves, but not really like actually breaking any of the rules.
Yeah, no,
so
I agree.
They are a very capable team. It would be interesting to see if they are pushed in a direction now where they just go, we just got to sort of knuckle down and do this properly. Like,
exactly, because
no more shortcuts.
Because they were announced Undisputed Era of Red Dragon, so O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. They were announced for the Dusty Rhodes Classic, which will be starting in the next few weeks. Well, actually, I think it starts next week. So they've announced 4 teams. There's another 4 teams to be announced. I at first thought it was just a 4-team tournament.
A very quick tournament.
And I was like, well, that's a shame. But then they said, yeah, there's another 4
teams. Unless they do a round
coming.
robin.
Yeah, totally. So it'll be interesting to see then where Undisputed Era go and where their characters go from being within this tournament. So I'm really enjoying what they're doing with the Undisputed Era at the moment, and I thoroughly enjoyed this match. This was just great wrestling. Roderick Strong is awesome.
I would not like to have a wrestling match against Roderick Strong.
I fear for my back. I've got a bad back as it is. Although, having said that, maybe he'd help my bad back. Like, maybe
it's like visiting the
place.
chiropractor.
Exactly.
Like, you come out of it like, oh, I'm actually quite limber now.
Brilliant. This is lovely. It's like DDP yoga, but like for a match.
It's like a really long-winded massage.
But there were some really great spots in this. Like I loved Roderick Strong doing like that torture rack bomb into the post while he was standing on the apron.
The backbreaker onto the steps, the steel steps.
Yeah.
There were so many bits of that where I was just like, oh no, please. Like, I think the torture rack one onto the turnbuckle actually made me get out of bed and go like, oh no.
And actually I think as well, like Aleister Black got the win out of nowhere with the Black Mass, but I thought this actually really did a good job in putting Roderick Strong over Strong, if you'll excuse the terrible wording.
Roderick over his name.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Roddy didn't look bad in defeat here.
No.
I thought it's one of the better showings that Roddy has had as a singles guy, particularly now that they're telling this story that O'Reilly and Fish are going back to being the tag team, and Roddy's going to be the single star, another single star. So I think this was actually a really smart way to make Roddy look good in a singles match, even though he lost.
Yep.
I thought it was a success on every level.
Well, they do very well to make the Black Mass is a protected finisher, right? Like it is, and he's gone up to the main roster this week. I know it's separate continuity, but he's gone up. We did mention that he's won twice this week. He has defeated everyone with the Black Mass from out of nowhere, essentially. So getting caught with it, not really that devastating to your sort of
your credibility,
because people just go, okay, well, you can't really, if you get kicked in the head like that, you go down. That's just the way it is. And it was literally Black slips out of something, twists around, hits the kick.
Yeah.
Like Roddy was in control prior to that. It did feel like Roddy's match to win almost.
Yeah, really
towards the end. And then Black is very good at kicking you in the face.
But like compare that again, different continuity, but compare that to the Elias match on Raw, where Elias just dominated 90% of it, and then Black hit out of nowhere, and Elias didn't look good coming out of that, because it was like, well, you worked over him for 90% of the match, and yet you still lost like a
one
doofus.
Kick to the head.
But I think because this was a good back and forth match, I think it made Roddy look really great. I was a big fan of this match. And then afterwards, you had Kyle O'Reilly come down, but the first thing he does is he hits the ring and gets black masked right in the face and crumples out of the ring. He's the best. He's wonderful.
I would rather watch matches in which Kyle O'Reilly just sold injuries that he had. Like, he just sold moves. I don't even want to see him do moves. I just want to see him get hit in the head.
Oh, God, he was great.
Just do his little...
Yeah. And then Fish and Cole also run down. Ricochet comes out to make the save. So even though they were at a 4-on-2 advantage, they still ran the scarpered because Ricochet and Black sent them packing. So it kind of plays more into this Undisputed Era. Even when they're doing a rundown, they can't even stay on top.
Yeah. Just like you should have all three of you run out together.
Yeah.
There was a point where you should have held Kyle back for 1 second.
He's so
grabbed
quick,
him
though.
by the tights. Come back, you little scamp.
We got a video from last week with Baszler and co bullying the locker room.
Oh, yeah.
They're also talking about some of the new recruits from NXT, including Chelsea Green.
I love these videos where they just out of context because they don't do these videos ever. So it's not like we're just filming this normal video we film with the training staff at the PC, and then suddenly you're like, oh, there's a fight going on in the locker room.
Yeah.
Like, it would make more sense if it was someone filming like a backstage vlog, like someone who actually does do promos.
Yeah.
Not just your training staff.
Training staff just saying, we've got a great crop of characters coming in now. We then got a Bianca Belair video package talking about the Phoenix match and how she would be the NXT Women's Champion if it wasn't for that idiot ref falling down. I would be the winner, which is true. She did get a visual pin.
It's true.
And then she turns her attention and just and then Io Shirai and Kairi Sane just stepping in here and stealing her spotlight away from her. I thought this was a great promo from Belair. I like her character. I much prefer this more heelish aspect of it than the babyface one she was in the lead up to the match with Baszler, where she is like, no, I am the EST. Because the EST is a heel gimmick. I am better than you. And I think she works that character so well. And she's still saying that she's undefeated, even though she is.
She's got the visual pin.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like
take
this.
that to her grave, like you about the announce tables.
I lost, and it's fine. I've got to move past that, I guess. Even though they nearly ended a tables match with an announced a table spot on Raw. Just saying.
Did it end the actual match though?
Well, no, they didn't use it in the end. But,
probably because it didn't count.
Regardless, I recorded the video anyway. So, what am I going to do? Unrecord the video and unpost it? No, I lost.
Fine.
We recap the four of them going into this Elseworld, going through this portal and appearing on the other side.
The mystical dream that happened this week, the spirit walk that they all took.
Every day I've woken up going I had this really weird dream that they were all on Raw and SmackDown. It was bizarre. It was really out of continuity. Gargano and Ciampa were friends.
Yeah,
which makes zero sense. And that's when we got the announcement that the Dusty Classic is returning in a couple of weeks, and the winners are going to face the War Raiders at TakeOver. So we've got 8 teams going in, and the 4 that have been announced are the Undisputed Era of O'Reilly and Fish. I've written
Profits.
Street Profits. It's because I've done an FS, and I was like, who the hell are FS?
Forgotten Sons.
Forgotten Sons. Ironically, I forgot them again.
Oh.
Yeah, so the Forgotten Sons of Blake and the other one.
Cutler.
That's it, thank you. Street Profits and the European Union of Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. Cool, good 4 teams. And I've written here, poor Lorcan and Birch.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But I'd imagine they'll be among the other 4 that are yet to be announced. So those are going to be announced next week. So that's next week we'll know our full 8, which is very, very exciting. Then, what was probably the worst part of this show?
Yeah.
God, I feel bad. I feel bad that we keep picking. I feel like we are picking on Mia Yim, but we're not. It's just she keeps being involved in bad matches. And I don't think it's ever her fault.
No.
Because she's really good.
Yeah. It's just... She just isn't... She's got nothing to do at the moment is the problem. And I think that's the major issue is that sometimes when NXT doesn't have anything to do, they just try established person or whoever sort of is middling established in NXT, Mia Yim, versus completely unestablished person. So then you end up with matches that don't really mean... They don't mean anything to the crowd.
Yeah.
And they don't mean anything... they don't have the opportunity to really go beyond what they are, which is someone who's quite green or fairly new to WWE against someone who's also quite new to WWE, actually.
Oh, the TV's going to turn off in a
Ooh.
minute.
Where is the remote? This
remote's here.
is it a clapper?
What if I press this?
Okay.
That's what I've just tried. Okay, come on. Can you cover
For the for the podcast listeners, we're trying to fix a television now that's about to turn off. We're not doing very well.
No.
Maybe just turn it off and then on again. Have you tried turning it on and off again?
Do that now.
But anyway, so I think the problem with Mia Yim is that so far she's not really had anything to do in the same way that Keith Lee didn't for a very long time, and still doesn't
Still
particularly.
doesn't,
so
yeah.
like it just feels like when she comes out, you're just going to see a match that doesn't mean much. It doesn't, and I think the key is. The silly thing is that actually NXT is very good at story, and it is well known for being good at story. And that is also what WWE does better than most other wrestling promotions. Pretty much all of them, in fact. So to go to WWE's developmental territory and to not develop the story with someone feels like a waste.
Yeah.
And there's just like Mia Yim comes out and says, I'm the head baddie in charge. I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. It's placeholder. It all feels like she's not going for a title. She's not got a feud going on with someone, which she could have just had a feud. In this entire time that she's been there, she's had 6 matches maybe on NXT TV.
It's the same thing we've been saying about, as you say, Keith Lee. Keith Lee's been he'll have been in NXT for nearly a year. I think it's June or July. He'll have been in for a year, and he's done nout since he came up.
I don't think it doesn't take much to just have a minor feud running. It doesn't even have to be
building to a takeover match.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be building to a takeover match. It doesn't have to be building even to a blow-off television match. It just has to be they had a match, there was a bad fallout, and they're in each other's faces a few times.
Yeah.
They get involved in each other's matches. Things, progress. It feels like someone's actually moving forward, whereas Mia Yim is just picking up wins that mean nout.
Well, yeah, and this was certainly the case here, because she faced against Xia Li, who you may remember from the Royal Rumble. She does have a fun choreographed entrance.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give it. That's a fun little entrance. It's really entertaining to watch. I can't say the rest of the match was, though. My first note is, well, this isn't very good.
I think the problem is my favourite bit of this match was the bit in which Xia Li was doing kicks that were all going wide.
Yeah.
But they were all beautiful martial arts kicks. And Yim was backing off into the corner. And then she just went, hey. Cool it, sister.
It was my favourite spot of the match. And I thought the test of strength stuff was a little bit fun as well. The best thing about this match was Mia Yim's selling. I think she's really, really good at selling, but the crowd were completely dead for this. Absolutely dead. And then eventually Mia Yim hits the protect yo neck. The protect
It's
your
the
neck.
eat defeat with knees.
Yeah, it's a modified eat defeat.
Yes.
But with a Wu-Tang reference.
Is it a new one? Is this her new finish?
I guess it is. Well, it's got a new name now, which is, protect your neck. And then afterwards...
It looks mildly better.
Yeah, and I'd much prefer it to just doing the eat defeat. And then Baszler and the other horsemen run down to attack them. A load of trainees run down to make the save, but the horsemen just kill everyone. And then with Baszler laying out Mia Yim. And
brutal running knee.
oh man, well Baszler's great.
Yeah,
Baszler's so good. And and Baszler's there almost shouting I demand respect. And I thought, well, Hideo Itami's gone now, so I guess they may as well give that gimmick to someone else.
Yeah, you can have the one-word gimmick if you like.
Yeah. I thought that the actual end segment was quite good with the Horsewomen and Baszler, and they announced that it's going to be Mia Yim versus Baszler next week, which is a match I'm hoping this is going to be the first good Mia Yim match in NXT.
Yes.
Because that's what I think Mia Yim has been missing. I think her presentation's very good. I think her entrance is good. I think her style, I think her look is very good. But she's just been in not always bad matches, but sometimes boring matches. That
I think they're disjointed, aren't they?
and things like that. Yeah, so I'm hoping that next week is going to be the first good Mia Yim match in NXT.
I would love to see just a 5-minute Mia Yim match that is fast-paced. Really, against someone a bit more established. They just come out and they just... Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim would be a good match. They just came out and did all of their good moves at each other for 5 minutes, finish the match. No ups and downs, no quiet sections, no silly little spots. Just beat the hell out of each other. I'd love to see that.
Well, let's hope we get that next week when she faces Baszler. And then the last thing we're going to get to talk about, because this was fun, Jeremy Borash made his NXT debut.
What?
all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, it's Jeremy Borash. Why is Borash there?
Ill-framed Jeremy Borash.
Poor old Jeremy Borash. He didn't look great. But hey, nice to have him on TV because I really like Jeremy Borash. Jeremy Borash in this segment as well reminded me, and I'd imagine he's taken a lot of inspiration from this as well, like Jim Ross.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Jeremy Borash is as good as Jim Ross, but when Jim Ross used to do these sit-down interviews, he felt like a genuine sort of like a journalist, a commentator, an announcer interviewing a wrestler very seriously. As like, I really want to interview this person. I really want to get deep into like inside your mind or like what you're thinking about with these certain things, and I want to hear more about you, as opposed to my guest at this time. The North American, blah, 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 and just doing generic backstage interviews.
Well, feeling very scripted as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought this actually was a really cool presentation. Apparently it's from a much longer YouTube video. But he was interviewing Matt Riddle.
Yes.
And I thought Riddle was really great into this. They were talking about his debut in NXT and things like that. And like Jeremy Borash was saying, like, you know, you come in and you kind of look unconventional because you're wearing a suit, but you're also wearing a baseball cap.
You got flip-flops.
You got flip-flops and things like that. So I thought
thongs for the Australians.
Borash just came across really well in his interviewing style because he's very good at that. And Riddle said that someone told him that the worst thing that he could have possibly done was be told to dial it up.
Yeah.
So he'd rather be told to dial it down, which is great.
Yeah.
I think it works brilliantly for the Riddle character.
It's interesting because I really like all the sort of presentation stuff they've done with Riddle, like that's been on the YouTube side of things. Like his whole Arrival documentary series is really interesting.
He was reading the WrestleTalk magazine.
Yeah, but really, really worth watching. It's just one of those like fascinating looks at someone's that sort of manages to walk the line perfectly between being both sort of kayfabe and real world.
Yeah.
It's smart. It's smart stuff. And it works perfect for someone like Riddle, who was a fighter and was someone who was famous before, you know, or well-known-ish before going into WWE. So it just works really, really well.
This was cool, and he was talking about how he was happy to get rid of Ono after TakeOver and how he beat Gulak next week, and then he's just like, I want to win the North American Championship. I want to win the NXT Championship. Any championship I can get my hand on, that's the belt I want to win. Which feels to me like that's him setting him up for Velveteen Dream, possibly for TakeOver New York, in his sort of like his first big championship match. Which excites me.
It's exciting.
Riddle versus Dream.
I don't necessarily know if Dream's walking out with that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out what happens next week. But I thought this was a very, very good episode of NXT. I loved the Black Strong match to kick things off, and I loved the Gargano Dream match to end it off. It's a 3-match card. Match in the middle wasn't particularly great, but it's fine.
Strong Black's a coffee, isn't it?
Well, I guess it is. Yeah, it's not how I take my coffee, but yes, it is. So I love the opening 2 matches, and they went much longer than the middle match. So thumbs up all round NXT for me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think there's at least, even though that middle match wasn't fantastic, there's some interesting stuff coming out of it, and hopefully a chance next week to finally do something with Mia Yim.
Yeah.
Which will be great.
Which will be great.
It would be so nice to see, like, you know, in the Mae Young Classic she was fantastic, so it would be nice to see that Mia Yim arrive finally in NXT.
Exactly. She was great in Impact as well. So, fans of Mia Yim, I just feel like we've been burying her on this show because she's yet to have a good match, and I don't think that's her fault.
No.
Just getting that out there. But that is all we've got time for on this show. Please do click the videos that appeared on this screen right now, and this button right here, which will make you become a Pledge Hammer on Patreon. Which you get loads of bonus stuff, loads of cool, excellent stuff, and like podcasts and shout outs and the like. So that's all from us. I've been Luke Owen. This has been our Fake It or Laurie Blake, and that was NXT.